Okay, so before we get to what Bronwyn told me, there's a lot to cover. If you're joining us from TikTok, welcome J Squad. And if you're joining us here from YouTube, welcome. If you want to be part of our spooky crew, all you have to do is like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Also, be sure to follow me on TikTok and watch the entire series to make sure you see the entire journey. Oh, and J Squad, don't forget to stick around for never before seen footage that you'll definitely want to see. Trust me. Speaking of the J Squad, don't forget to tap the link in my description to get 10% off all merch and books today. Okay, now let's get to it. If you're following along on TikTok, you know a few weeks ago I found a crypt in my closet. Now, that's a whole other story. Be sure to check that video out if you want to know the entire story. But that's not what we're talking about. Back to the doll. So once I found out the doll was worth a lot of money, I took it to my local pawn dealership to get it appraised. Elliot Salter, pawnbroker, took one look at my Lady Jane and knew in a heartbeat how much money it was worth. Okay guys, time for some never before seen footage. Here it is.
How's it going?
All right.
Yeah, it's this doll.
Whoa.
He didn't say much with his mouth, but what his eye said it all. Elliot is an awesome guy with an amazing shop and a vast knowledge of things you would never even think about. He's an awesome guy, and I highly recommend you check out his store, Elliot Salter, Pawnbroker. So, Elliot paid me in cash, and it was stacks of cash. We're talking hundos. Hundos on hundos on hundos. And for those of you who don't know what that means $100 bills. So what's the first thing you do when you have stacks of hundos? You go on a shopping spree. Duh. The first thing I wanted was a new Korg SV2. It's the latest stage piano and I had to have it. No offense to this beautiful piano that's also possessed, but we'll get to that another time. This new stage piano, aka keyboard, didn't work right out of the box, even though it was brand new. I tried plugging it in, restarting it, nothing came out, so I returned it. But that didn't stop me from my shopping spree. The second item I picked up was the brand new Apple MacBook, all decked out, super high tech, ready to go. I don't even want to say how much it was, but it was a lot of money. And again, right out of the box, it was broken. The screen cracked, pixels bleeding color everywhere. 2 brand new items in a row, completely broken. Now, I know my UPS guy, and he doesn't have any anger management problems. I mean, he sets my packages down like they are a feather on a pillow. That didn't make any sense. Now, I know my UPS guy, and trust me, he is light-handed. He sets them down daintier than a flower on a bed. What am I saying? Now, after buying 2 brand new items direct from the store and having neither work, that's not a coincidence. That's not even a sign. That's a surefire way to find out that the money you have has been cursed. This is Lady Jane. Dominic Sanders' pride and joy, the one doll that built his entire empire. And again, if you want to know more about how I found her exactly, make sure you check out CLOSET CRYPT. As soon as I figured the money was cursed, I tried to return it right away, but the doll had already been sold. And that's when it all began. Right when I got home from the pawn shop, these books flew off my shelf and my potted tree moved right toward me. That's when I noticed each of the books were opened to a specific page. A specific word was chosen by what looked like a teardrop. When I read each word in order, they spelled, "It was my fault." What was whose fault? I had so many questions, but no clue where to start. So, where do I go when I need some help? My spirit board. So I got my board all set up and I asked, "What was your fault?" And the board spelled accident. What accident? Still, so many questions, not enough answers. I went to bed that night and had some intense nightmares. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I do remember that there was this crazy bright light. It really freaked me out. Then the next morning while I was getting ready for work, I heard this crying. First, it was in my bathroom, so I checked everywhere. There was nothing. Then I looked around the rest of my house and I couldn't find a thing. So I had to take off because I was going to be late for work if I didn't. But the crying followed me all the way out to my car and inside my car. And finally, I looked up in my rearview mirror and I saw where the crying was coming from. That doll was back in my car, seatbelted, staring at me through the mirror. I knew that couldn't be a good sign, so I grabbed the doll and I threw it away in my dumpster, and I went to work. All day something was on my mind, something that was just eating at me. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was like this gnawing in my head. It was awful. I worked all day and into the night, and when I got home I was exhausted, but I still noticed something strange about the dumpster. It was covered in yellow tape. Take a look for yourself. This has got to be some sort of joke. Is one of my friends playing a prank on me? I wanted to tell myself yes, but the energy I got from it was so weird that I knew it wasn't a friend. It wasn't a joke. And then my heart sank. I noticed the yellow tape wasn't just around the dumpster. Sure, it started there and was wrapped all the way around it, but one single line of yellow tape led from the dumpster into my house. Now it's getting personal. I followed the yellow caution tape into my apartment and was in shock when I saw all these strange items that I had never seen before. The yellow tape led to into each item in procession, wrapping around it like it was suffocating it. The first item the tape led to was a small red dress fit for a young girl. The second was this pair of ballet tickets for Tilda and Eloise Platts. The third was this very tree you see in the video right now. And the fourth was my piano bench. Inside was the doll. Again, I had just thrown her out, but now she was back in my house. What is going on? Somebody's definitely playing a prank, but again, no prank energy, only weird vibes. What was even stranger than finding the doll inside my piano bench was the fact that the doll was covered in dirt and holding a dead flower. So disturbing. Still makes me shudder. I cleaned up the dirt and was left with the doll. I had no idea what to do. I couldn't throw it away. I definitely did not want to burn it. I had learned from the past that drowning didn't do anything, and it was way too late in the night to ask my neighbor Bronwyn for help. So I took matters into my own hands and I put the doll in my own suitcase. I zipped it up and locked it shut and went to bed. It felt like seconds before I slipped into my first nightmare. Terrifying. Couldn't see anything. Couldn't make anything out. Just dark figures and shadows. But what I could make out was the argument. Not words, not anything specific, just the emotion. Two people, what sounded like a mother and a daughter, yelling at the top of their lungs. What were they screaming about? What was the accident? What happened? I had to know. I was listening to the arguing in my dream when I realized that the arguing wasn't in my dream. It was actually happening in real life. And when I say I woke up, all I did was open my eyes. It felt like I didn't leave the dream, but whatever was there in my dream was now in my room, yelling at each other, screaming. I sat up on my bed and looked as hard as I could. That's when I saw the shadowy figure creep into my room. It began at my doorway and moved in such an eerie fashion that I swear it did not have legs. It was floating across my floor, straight up to the foot of my bed. I'd heard a lot of the J Squad talk to me about sleep paralysis, or the sitting hag as they call it. This was pure horror and shock. I was sitting in bed, stunned, literally petrified, my bones and joints locked, just watching this figure come up to me. I was absolutely terrified. You know, in your dreams, when you can't yell for help, every movement you make is like pulling taffy or you're running through molasses. You're locked at the jaw and you can't speak. It was like all of that was happening to me at once. And the figure, still crawling or floating, hovering, closer and closer. Now it was 2 feet away from the foot of my bed, and the ability of my body completely taken away, helpless, not being able to do a thing. That's when time slowed down and everything came at me like it was in slow motion. My heartbeat was pumping so loud I could hear it pounding through my head. It took 2 more heartbeats before the figure was at the foot of my bed and inches away from my feet. All of a sudden, my body snapped forward and my joints were free. I reached for my lamp, my room flooded with light, and in an instant I saw what I was looking at. It wasn't a figure, it was a suitcase with a black coat thrown over it. It wasn't just any suitcase. It was the suitcase I put the doll in. Of course. So now, of course, I figure my friends had to be playing a joke on me, but I searched the entire house and still found nothing. I wanted to make sure the doll was definitely not in the suitcase anymore, so I cracked it open just to make sure. I found the doll inside, but not normal at all. Its arms and legs were all bent and twisted in these weird, disturbing ways, and I swear it had tears coming out of its eyes. Take a look for yourself. Still wet, coming out of the eyeballs. What is that? So I figured I might as well just put her back into a normal position, wipe the tears off, and just wait until morning. But I couldn't wait until morning because Cooper started barking at her. He went absolutely berserk. Now, he barks a lot. He's my guard dog and he protects his house. But I have never heard him bark like this in my entire life. He was going at it relentlessly, machine gun style, would not stop. When I realized he was barking at the doll, I looked at it, and that's when it all sunk in, why he was barking like that. The doll's head was moving by itself. No, get it out, done. The doll's head stops moving and it's staring right at us. Literally had no idea what to do at this point, so I took out a book and I smacked the doll off the shelf. Let me tell you what, that was a bad idea. Now the doll is lying on the floor, only it's not just lying there. It's also crying, and it's not just like with tears crying, it's like actually physically crying. I can hear it crying. So I approach it, don't ask me why, but I came up to it trying to fix it somehow, and as soon as I reached for it, that doll slid right under my couch. Last video, I had a cockroach under my couch. This time, it was a doll. I honestly don't know which I would rather have. Honestly, the cockroach. Let's see. Don't tell anybody I said that. What? No. No. I don't want cockroach. No. Don't want that either. But honestly, neither. Can I choose neither? Okay, we're gonna do that. No cockroaches, no dolls under my couch. I had to get this doll out of my house right now. So I reached underneath my couch with the full length of my arm, and I didn't feel a thing at first. So there I was on my stomach, reaching underneath my couch, Didn't feel a thing until I get yanked under my couch. Well, that's never happened before. Whatever was pulling me under had a tight grip and was yanking me in fast. My right arm instinctively popped up and stopped myself from getting dragged completely underneath the couch. Now, I like to consider myself a fairly strong person, but I was legitimately losing this tug of war with a doll. It was embarrassing. I put all my weight into it and finally snapped back from the couch. I look at my hand and see that there is string tied all around it, super tight. I unwrapped the string and noticed that it was wrapped around my hand so tight it left a red mark. And when I looked underneath the couch, no doll. So that was my cue to grab Cooper and head to bed and barricade the door. But that night, the nightmares got even worse. So realistic, I could not tell them apart. I had this awful feeling in my gut, and then, out of nowhere, 2 car headlights appeared at the foot of my bed, and I heard a car horn screech past. Now this for sure was 100% in my room. Was there a car in my room? I don't know, but I felt like it. When I turned on the lights, all that was there was the doll. Yep. Barricade didn't work. Somehow, she got in my room. At this point, I realized this wasn't going away. I had to face it or deal with it. So I decided I would face it because I was sick and tired of dealing with it. So I got out the tickets and I did some research on the names I found. I discovered that Eloise Platts was a young girl who tragically passed away in a car accident. Now that word makes sense. And the car headlights, things were starting to become clear, but I still had no idea what was going on. This time, I truly felt like I was at a dead end and had no idea what to do. Luckily, my witch neighbor Bronwyn was available and she came over right away. I showed her the ballet tickets and she placed her hands on top of them, then instantly drew back with a horrendous look on her face, tears welling up in her eyes. I asked if she could help, but the doll's energy sent her out of my house in tears, full-blown crying. I had never seen her like that before. It was really disturbing. Now I was all alone with that doll and the tickets and the horrible energy that came with it, with no clue what to do. I started thinking about everything. The caution tape, the dress, the flower, the dirt, the tree. Still, things didn't make any sense to me. The only option I felt like I had was to contact Tilda, whom I assumed was the mother of Eloise. So I looked her up online, got her address, and headed out to my car. But on the way there, I was stopped with this horrible feeling. It was like there was lead filling up in my feet and coming up to my stomach. I felt nauseous and slow and sluggish and awful all at once. That's when I stopped moving completely and I heard somebody whisper, not outside, but in my head, Josh. I turned around and was caught in a trance. Bronwyn was on her porch, her eyes locked into mine. I was still frozen, and apparently she was too. I just saw her standing there clenching something in her fist. Then I heard her talk, but no sound came out of her mouth. Again, only in my head. This time it said, "Don't go." Then she dropped whatever she was holding in her hand, which by then I could see was a stone tied in twine. And as soon as it hit the ground, I was able to walk again, and that leaden feeling left my body. She beckoned me inside, and I gladly obliged. I walked in and knew right away she was only trying to help. By then, I guess she had enough time to compose herself, and she explained to me that what she saw was so horrific that she wept at what she saw, but wanted me to have all the information before I made any decisions. Bronwyn explained everything, and then it all made sense. This is what she said.
I don't think that you should seek the family and seek out Tilda. I think it's a bad idea.
Why?
This doll belonged to her daughter Eloise.
Like on the ticket?
Yeah, on the tickets. The night of the ballet, there was an accident.
What happened?
Eloise was sitting in the back seat of the car. Her seatbelt was uncomfortable, wrinkling her nightgown, so she took it off. Tilda saw and she leaned back in the car to refasten the seatbelt.
Right.
And while she was doing that, she swerved and hit a tree. It was a terrible, terrible accident.
No.
Eloise didn't make it. Yeah, she is so sorry. Eloise is so sorry that she did that and she didn't listen to her mom.
I'm sure. I don't know what to do, but I feel like I need to tell her mom that. At least give her some closure.
I would just do it with caution. This kind of grief is really powerful. It could cling to you if you're not careful.
Okay. Alright, I'll be careful. I really think I need to tell her though.
Okay.
Thank
goodbye.
you so much, Bronwyn. Always so helpful. Alright, we'll see you.
See you.
After hearing that message from Bronwyn, I knew I had to tell Tilda, so I looked up her address and I headed out. When I got to her place, I knocked on the door and asked if she was Tilda Platts. She said yes, and this is what happened. I can't tell you how happy I was to hear that her mother was finally going to go to the ballet after all these years. I mean, I understand why it's probably a tender subject and has some trauma connected to it, but I think it will offer an amazing amount of closure. I'm so glad I was able to bring Eloise's message to Tilda, and truly wish that they can enjoy the ballet together as they were always meant to. I guess what I learned in the end is to listen to your loved ones, because if they're truly your loved ones, they only want what's best for you. While sometimes what they may have to say may be not easy to hear, it's only because they love you and they want to keep you around as long as possible. Trust me, I know. So be sure to wear that bike helmet, buckle up, and look both ways before crossing that street. And remember, loved ones only want what's best for you. Alright, J Squad, that's all for tonight. Sending all my love. Over and out. Oh hey, are you still here? Oh no, stick around. I've got some more videos I'd like you to see. Have you seen this one yet? No? Oh, what about this one? Oh, I think this one is just right for you. Oh, also, don't forget to ring that bell and subscribe.